Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Romenkov. I'm a ruling reality coach. And today I would like to continue with you my series Daily Reality with Alex. Today is 22nd of March, 2023. And I would like to speak with you about the reality of fantasy. It is a very important topic for me personally, because I like fantasy, I like dreaming, I like dwelling in my thoughts, but also in life, in the way we are created as human beings, we are to implement our thoughts, our desires in the physical matter reality. And this is the reason why we are to know how to differentiate why fantasy exists, why dream exists, why desire exists, why will exist, and why we, the human beings, are created to be interactional beings between the invisible and the visible, between what is, so to say, lasting and what is perishing, or what is temporary. For me, these are very important topics because in my personal reality, I laugh a lot and enjoy even to dwell in my fantasy. I'm not afraid to dwell there, but also it is important to understand and to know what is your direction and to have anchors into the reality when you or me or all of us are willing to move strongly into the realms of the probable and into the realms of what is possible. So let's start. I'm going to present to you the construct, in the sense why it is for us all important to not be afraid of our dreams, and also the big idea for us, the human beings, is to learn to implement from fantasy to come to the dream world, to come to the plans, to come to the ideas, to come to the projects, and to come to the implementation, daily processes. And if we follow these steps, and then in the end are our actions, then our doingness is going to be much more fruitful, meaningful, and deep, because the source of our doingness is rooted and grounded in the non-visible. But in a sense, we are to learn how to recognize and to know more about the invisible than we are learning about the visible, in the sense that it's not necessary for us to know all the details. It's not necessary for us to know our second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th steps now in this moment. What is important regarding clarity is to know our next moment and to be comfortable with not knowing, to be comfortable with all the other aspects of the human projection, in order to know that our long-term goals, our long-term visions, our long-term plans are able to be non-stop connected with our daily deeds. And in this way, our intent is grounded strongly into the future, strongly into the probable, and then our daily decisions are almost decided to 95%, and we are just fruitfully giving ourselves away for the invisible flow and roots that already are producing for us what we are intending. And that's why how we are differentiating, first of all, between fantasy and all the other aspects of reality. For me personally, fantasy is not in your probable realm of implementation in the short term, and often even it's not in the realm of the implementation in our lifetime. Does it mean that it is not allowed for us to have dreams, desires, fantasies for the future of humanity, for what humanity would look like after 400 years, after 1,000 years, or even to go further into the future? If we allow ourselves to go into this direction, then we are going to understand that it's never one will, it's never one intent, it's never one desire that is long-term creating and giving a new perspective upon reality. For example, even in the moment in 2023, whatever we are experiencing is built by the fantasies of people that were dreaming, for example, for connections between beings independent of time and space. Today, this fantasy for us is a reality. It is the same with a lot of things today we feel and think as granted. For example, the cars and the moving vehicles that we have that are not powered by other animals or other type of engines which are natural is a fantasy for the human being 200-300 years ago. Still today, we are in the fantasy world about, let's say, transportation or the so-called teleportation, where we are moving from one place and space in time into another place and space in time simultaneously. And it is a fantasy, but I like to dwell even on this fantasy because the only problem about transportation from one point to another in no time, it is the space. In our mind realm, there is no space. Yes, there is some sense of time, but till we don't got lost, then even the sense of time is starting to disappear. But because we are having anyhow linear experience and everything falls one after another in order to create logical streams, we have a time. But then the only problem in the fantasy world, if we are able to take away space from the physical material reality, then teleportation is going to be very easy. And a lot of human beings know how to use fantasy, and I'm quite aware that everything that comes as fantasy to the human being is possible to be implemented. It doesn't mean that it is possible to be implemented in the short term, but it means that it is possible to be implemented anyhow in the long term. So this is about fantasy, and it is good for us to never be stopping our mind through going into these different realms of possibility. It doesn't matter how far away they are. Is this reality? In the sense that in the moment it's not possible to be implemented into the physical matter reality, it is not. But also we are to have anchors and logical reasoning of how this type of fantasy in the future, or if some other parameters are able to be changed, is also possible. And this is why for us, fantasy is something that we are to explore. It is something we are to dwell, but also it's very important not to mix it with dreams. Dreams are much more concrete. Dreams are much more connected with what's probable, let's say, in 5 years, in 10 years, even in 20 years. For example, my biggest dreams are now coming up to 20 years. For some dreams, like how much I'm going to live and to exist on this planet, my dreams are coming up to 20, 50, 60, 70 years. And because I have decided to put my intent long-term into the future, that I'm going to live 90 plus years. And because of this, I need to find my meaning and purpose in all my stages of life. Because of course, nobody is willing just to go through life and stay in hospital and be not interactive with reality and to not be useful for the other human beings, to not be able to give its essence away for the common good. And that's why dreams is different. Then when we go into specific projects or flows, then this is much more implementable, because if it's a project, we have a day one of implementation. For example, with my dream before 2030 of having 100 houses, I'm already making my steps. I have made steps in the past, I'm making steps now, and every step toward my dreams is seeds put forward towards this stream and flow to start appearing little by little in the physical matter reality. So dreams are in the probable future. Usually people overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. Each of us, if we go and put on a list what we can achieve and what we can experience in the physical matter reality in the next 10 years, we are going to underestimate what is probable and possible for all of us. And because of this, we are constantly not giving enough seeds towards specific dreams. This is where specificity and definite chief aims are important to be built, because then the anchoring towards the reality is much more stronger, and every day you can feel how little by little your future dream becomes revealing in the physical matter daily reality for all of us. So the physical matter daily reality consists of so many things that still have not appeared, and so many things from the past that are now growing up into the reality. And this is the part of the realm of the dreams. Then we are coming into the plans and the projects where almost there are no necessity for deviations. We know the steps for the 3 months, we know the steps for the 6 months, we know the steps for the year, and we are focused and are 100% implementing them. So I just wanted to share how I enjoy and love fantasy, but also I know that this is not implementation. These are not dreams. This is not a specific vision. This is not a specific flow. This is not the moment's physical matter reality. It is very important to differentiate this different type of existence, because in a sense, everything exists, but everything is in different stages. But it is like the funnel. Fantasy, it's a lot of probabilities for all of us. Then we go down the funnel, and for some of us, the funnel is so small that we almost don't desire to dream, we don't desire to achieve, we don't desire to implement, because we are 100% afraid that our fantasies can never appear. And of course, they just cannot appear because they are for the probable future. But it doesn't mean that we cannot implement the small things of today and to put anchors into the future. That's why I enjoy working with the future, into putting it and seeding it into the now, also working with the past and drawing things from the past into the now. And in this way, you are and I am using much more resources, and then the daily reality makes much more meaning, because our interaction between the future, the past, and the now, between the possible, probable, fantastical, and what is real, is becoming much more vivid, and we can daily work with it. And it is important to go into this non-physical matter reality daily in order to be able to have the enthusiasm, to have the will, to have the burning desires, because we are constantly knowing what is going to be revealed in our own personal reality. So thank you for watching today. This is a very small type of expressions, and I just wanted to share it with you. And enjoy your reality. Yes, it's very complex. Yes, there are so many things we can be afraid of, or we can allow and learn how to rule them. This is my idea. This is the idea of Ruling Reality Basic program that I'm presenting. And I wish that all of us are much more free and able to enjoy the reality that is God's given for all of us. Bye-bye.